Hello, Rob from Fountain Pen Journey with a bit of a throwback to when I first started my fountain pen journey. I'm reviewing a Jinhao X750 fountain pen. And this is the Jinhao X750 Black Shimmering Sands fountain pen. And it's one of those pens that I bought way back when I first started my own fountain pen journey in 2017. When I first started collecting Jinhao fountain pens. Now, Jinhao fountain pens are great beginners pens because they're pretty reliable. They've got everything you need, usually a really good nib. They come with a converter. They're solid and they are cheap. And this just happened to be one of those things I thought, well, I might as well buy one of these for a few pounds, a few dollars, including shipping from China. And it ended up in my collection. Popped it into a drawer with my other Jinhao X750s and X450s, and never got used until a few months ago. I was going through my work fountain pens. I always have quite a few different fountain pens at work, and just happened to think, you know what, I want something a little bit glitzy. I want something sparkly but not over the top to take to work. For pure reason, I can sit there and twiddle it if I'm in a very, very boring meeting. And this is an ideal pen for that because it is inexpensive, it is sparkly, but it's not too sparkly. I mean, it's not a BENU. And I have BENUfied my own Jinhao 159 fountain pens, as you can see in a video I did a while ago. I'll try and remember to put a link to those down below. Not that extreme. So this is a very subtle colour, Jinhao X750 Black Shimmering Sands. Still available on eBay, and it's quite good. In late 2020, and I think I purchased one probably about December time 2020, Pelikan came out with the M205 Moonstone special edition fountain pen for 2020, which was a grey demonstrator fountain pen with shimmering particles in. This is an incredibly cheap version of one of those. So if you were interested in that fountain pen, the Pelikan Moonstone fountain pen, back then, and said, oh no, Rob, you know, it's out of my budget, it's a nice pen, can't afford it, this Jinhao X750 Black Shimmering Sands is a very, very affordable alternative to that. So let's have a look at the pen. Now, it is a Jinhao X750, and that means it's an all-metal fountain pen, or basically all-metal, and it's solid. It's got some heft to it. I've got a Lamy Safari Terra, which I shall just do a side-by-side for size comparison. As you can see, pretty comparable. Pop that to one side. And it's a nice looking fountain pen. It's a classic sort of cigar shape, not too thick, not too thin, comfortable to hold, decent amount of heft without it being too heavy, and it's very functional. It's a good pen to take to work. Nice to see that the actual finial is the same multicoloured shimmering particles in this black, I don't know what it is, whether it's a resin or material, but this is picking up the multicoloured colours in this light here really, really nicely. Now, I know that Moonman did a sort of, I wouldn't like to go as far to say it was like a what do you call it, name escapes me now. I can hear people screaming at the camera, screaming at the video they're watching now. But you know, the Japanese inlaid, not maquillé, but the inlaid multicoloured stuff that the Japanese do. Anyway, let's just look at the pen. So you can see the finish. It's got a black background and these multicoloured, but not too big, multicoloured particles all the way through, and it's really, really quite nice. It's bordering on too glitzy, but it's subtle enough so that you could leave this pen lying on a desk, and it's not BENU. It doesn't scream out glitter. It's not quite that bad, but it's getting there. So it is very, very attractive if this is your sort of thing. So it's nice to see that the black finial has the same coloured shimmering particles that you get on the cap. The barrel, I shall just rotate this in the light, looking good, and all the way down to the finial at the end of the barrel. So nice touches. Really inexpensive fountain pen. We've got a silver clip, the cap band near the finial. The clips are pretty decent, reasonably springy, quite tight. Silver cap band with Jinhao on there. Silver band down here before you get to the cap, and it is a pop cap, so that just simply pops off. Not a lot going on in there. Jinhao swappable number 6 silver coloured steel nib, medium in this case. These always seem to be available with medium nibs. Matte metal section, black coloured, which is really, really nice. Not slippery at all. So metal section, if you like, a step up from the X450, which has got that plastic section, and the sorts of indents, subtle indents to put your fingers into a tripod grip. It's not the longest section, but as you can see, the pen is a decent enough size. I don't really feel this step up here to the silver ring and the barrel, so it's comfortable to use. Yeah, great. Comes with a converter, so you unscrew the barrel, converters there, typical Jinhao converter, very functional, pretty sturdy, decent enough quality. Clip the cap on, unclip it. It does post, but I find it not particularly pleasant. It's a bit back heavy, it's not terrible. It's just not a pen that I would bother posting. It just doesn't feel right. It's hard to say. The centre of balance isn't quite right, and it becomes a little bit too long for me. So when you post it, it's not great. So I'll just take that off there. So unposted, comfortable, good size, happy as anything. Let's have a look at how this writes. Now, Jinhao nibs are always a little inconsistent. I've had some great ones and I've had some bad ones. This happens to be pretty good. Straight out of the box. There we go. Jinhao X750 Black Shimmering Sands. That's what you can find this pen for sale as. And let's do the writing sample. So I have been very impressed with this pen. I've been using it for quite a while at work, and it's never let me down. There are sometimes issues with Jinhao nibs being just generally out of alignment. They're usually quite easy to fix yourself, but it's one of those things. Beginners, these are great beginners pens, but if you get a bad one, it's not a good experience, and it may put some beginners off. But touch wood, this has been a great pen straight out of the box. Pretty wet. you know, that's not bad at all. The ink flow is very good. On really absorbent papers, I find that the Jinhao feeds and the nibs don't always keep up very well, because what happens is that the ink is basically being pulled out faster than it feeds into the feed from the converter or the cartridge. They are standard international, so you can use standard international cartridges and other converters like that, standard international ones, if you don't want to use the Jinhao one that's provided. And if you get too much ink going out of the feed, you get ink starvation on absorbent papers. If you use something like this Rhodia paper, it's not quite as thirsty for ink, and it's, you know, it's not too bad. You don't tend to sort of do a page of writing and then find that the ink flow seems to be not stopping, but it slows down. You don't get quite as broad a line. It just doesn't write as wetly. If you're interested in knowing what ink I'm using in this pen, it's a Rohrer und Klinkner. And it is Leipzig Black, or Schwarz if you prefer the full German name. And I like it. I think it's really good ink. It's one of my go-to black inks. There is a hint of teal blue in it. Nice ink, good flow, very, very nice performing ink. So reverse writing, something that people do like to see. Really good. Very smooth. Takes it down to what I would call an extra fine. No flow issues whatsoever in reverse writing. So you can't really go that far wrong with this pen. It does everything that the Pelikan M205 does in some cases. You know, it writes. If you want a pen that writes, it does that job. It's black, it's got shimmery, sparkly bits, glitter bits in it. So if that ticks your box, this is a brilliant buy. Really, really cheap pen. Brilliant. No problems with hard starting, even if I don't use this pen for maybe a couple of weeks. Jinhao pens is sometimes a little bit temperamental after a couple of weeks of non-use, and you have to prime the feeds or something, but not in this case. I use this pen quite a lot at work. Sometimes it doesn't get used for maybe a fortnight. No problems with hard starting. It writes. It does what you want it to do. It's black, it's sparkly. There you have it. So if you were in the market for the Pelikan M205 Moonstone fountain pen but couldn't quite squeeze that, this isn't a bad alternative. This is I can't really say anything other than I recommend the Jinhao X750 Black Shimmering Sands fountain pen. It's a really good fountain pen. It's good quality, it's cheap, it's well made, and it writes. It's exactly what you want from a fountain pen, especially at this price point. I've paid more for Chinese fountain pens which don't write as well as this, and aren't maybe as attractive or as interesting as this. So really, really recommended. Big thumbs up from me. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye.